to Unit 3, everybody, and meet PAW-fessor PAGI, my resident cat here in my home office, welcoming you today to cover organizational management and leadership theories. We do have a lot of ground to cover to prepare for our Unit 3 assignment. So for option 2, mainly the points that I will be looking for are the theories that we'll cover, as well as your answers to 7 different questions. First one being the icebreaker question, followed by 5 field trip video clips, and then the last question at the end of today's or this week's session. So first off, please go ahead and tell us how your own organizational management experience has been, whether it's been good or bad, and please elaborate. Mine has varied over the course of the past 2.5+ decades that I've been in the workforce. I've seen more of a trend from top-down management to more of a horizontal, almost even playing field. As a matter of fact, I consider myself very fortunate here at PURR-due Global, having my favorite organizational leadership experience so far with my department chair, Dr. Misty LaCour, from our education and communication department. I would consider her leadership style, which isn't covered in today's unit, but since I studied leadership for my doctoral degree, I would regard Misty's or Dr. LaCour's as transformational, because she's been with PURR-due Global since we were Kaplan, and she had started the Doctor of Education program in Leadership and Innovation, which I expect to start teaching with soon for our applied research project. So she's been very supportive of all of the faculty and is very efficient as well, because she has an FAQ, or a frequently asked questions document, so that way we can navigate the spreadsheet and search for any issues we might have, and likely the answer might be there, or we can run it by her and she can add it to that frequently asked questions document. But since she's a fellow cat mama like myself, she supports my PURR-due boiler cats and now also my PURR-due boiler pup. But hopefully you can let us know how your own organizational management experience has been, and you can connect them with today's theories that we'll cover. And now I'm going to brief you on our Unit 3 assignment, and if you keep seeing my hands and my arms moving this way to your left, it's because I'm trying to get PAGI not to paw at the monitor or key at the keyboard. But anyway, we do have a template from the instructions in our Unit 3 content, so make sure you download the template and fill in the charts with the different examples for Fordism, which will also tie in with the other organizational management theories that we'll cover. So you'll briefly define Fordism and include guiding principles, as well as advantages with examples, 1 to 2 paragraphs each for the advantages and the disadvantages with those examples. And then you'll also explore the different theories, including Taylor's scientific management, Weber's bureaucratic theory, human relations theory, and human resource management. And 3 sources are required to be cited, including our textbook. So at least you have one solid source that you can cite in APA style, and then find a couple of more to consult. Now we'll cover the Fordist organization today, and it started a trend into more of the organizational management theories that took place more along the 20th century or the 1900s, and how it's evolved, because back before Fordism, before the car company Ford manufactured automobiles, um, people who worked in the workforce, just reported to duty. They got paid. It was pretty much a transactional exchange. And when Fordism started, people were getting hired just for the sake of being a warm body to man the fort, if you will. So it didn't really matter what skills they possessed, as long as they just did the job, they followed orders from the boss, and they earned their income to provide for themselves and their families. It is considered as a socio-political system. Yes, through Fordism, workers could enjoy and sustain a stability and have employment throughout their lives, making that honest living, and just be part of that labor market. And there was a clear distinction between work and life, um, very separate. And then, with cars and other products and services, this led to the emergence of a consumer society. You can pause this video and watch our first field trip video clip out of 5. And these video clips should take up to 20 minutes total today. So our segment with just me speaking should not take super long, to give you more time to watch these videos and answer the questions. So this is about Fordism, and you will answer this question: how was human interaction exercised in the advent of Fordism? And all of us who are watching will review the option 2 assignment. And next up, we will tie this, and I'm going to pause it so that way it doesn't play on my end, and go on to the next theory that we'll cover, which is scientific management in connection with Fordism by Taylor. And the 4 basic principles include scientific job design, as well as scientific selection and training of individual workers. So versus Fordism earlier, now the workers are having specific skills, whereas earlier it didn't matter what skills they possessed, they could flex and do whatever task or duty was expected of them. Third principle, cooperation between management and workers. And number 4, equal division of work between management and workers. So of course, those who were in a higher position were still expected to carry out the labor as well. So through this, there was increased productivity, lower cost from the company, and raising income of the employees. However, there were these factors of control of the human body, ignoring the social aspect of work, workers being motivated exclusively by economics and, getting that higher income, and limited conception of communication. So it was just, work, goal-oriented, and not really developing interpersonal relationships on the job. This next video clip is covering Taylorism, and your question is for field trip video clip number 2. What are the organized efficiency advantages of Taylorism or scientific management? So you'll hear this term in the video called organized efficiency. And let's see, it is going to play. Let me get out of that. And next up, we have bureaucracy from Weber, covering the different forms of authority: charismatic authority involving special powers, traditional authority, which is self-explanatory, involving custom and tradition, and rational legal authority involving impersonal and rational rules. And the factors to consider here is that bureaucracy is based on a rationalization process. And there were those limits and the iron cage of bureaucracy, considering the autocratic leadership involved. And it also undermined the sense of enchantment and community, not really valuing interpersonal communication again, and people adopting a means to an ends approach. And there was just, also a goal of just earning money and submitting to the boss. So the next video clip is from Ferrari versus Ford. In this movie, this is just a less than 1 minute video clip. I want you in number three to just for the filter video clip to describe a bureaucracy scenario where you've experienced or observed workers prioritizing pleasing their boss. Did they hate themselves for it too? You may have gone through it, or you may have known somebody who's gone through it, whether somebody in your personal lives or somebody who you may have worked with. So you can describe your example based on what is said from this video clip here. All right. And of course, you can pause it and then answer your question, or you can watch all the video clips at once. It's up to you. I am planning on posting the links on the class-wide memo on announcements by email and our Unit 3 discussion board. And I also plan to include links to each of these videos, including my own, on our Kaltura app. So from the course, it'll be from More Tools tab, scroll down to Kaltura, and it should be appear after you watch the video under the class media. And now Human Relations School from Elton Mayo and the Hawthorne Studies. There was this human relations movement. So now we're considering the human aspect of work, not just the task that needs to be carried out, but actually valuing the person behind these jobs. And the trend also went in the direction of the industrialization, destroying tight social bonds and cooperative system in the workplace. So valuing more collaboration, more, all hands on deck and team effort, and people matter. It's not just, the job that needs to be done, the person also is important. And this was one of the studies that I also had to consult during my PhD program through the School of Leadership Studies from the School of Business. We had to go through the illumination studies, the RATR or Relay Assembly Test Room studies, the interview program, and the bank wiring observation room study that you'll see more in our textbook. And the Hawthorne studies implied the discovery of informal work groups, meaning that it's not just, formal conduct, that we can carry on a conversation at work. We can have informal communication and it not be such a bad thing. My dad worked after his retirement from the Air Force as an A&P mechanic or an aircraft technician with American Airlines. And whenever we go to the airport, he still comes across some of his work crew, and, they kick back. Sometimes they would go out to eat during their lunch or dinner breaks, depending on what shifts they picked up at whatever time in the middle of their shifts, and just have good conversations. As a matter of fact, one of my dad's co-workers unfortunately passed away, but didn't have a spouse or children. So in his will, he actually bequeathed a couple of items to my dad, his Chevy Silverado and a set of golf clubs. So, we can make friends at work. We don't have to be buddy with them, but I've actually met one of my best friends on the job. When I worked at Gap over 2 decades ago, I met a good friend of mine, Amy. I just saw her a couple of weeks ago when I visited San Antonio with my animals and my husband, and we hung out with our animals and caught up on life. We went to each other's weddings. We've visited each other wherever we lived around the world. Since her husband was also in the Air Force, they were stationed in different countries and different states. So yeah, having work buddies is absolutely fine, and we want to have a good time at work. Obviously it's not a party time necessarily, but we have conversations to look forward to. It doesn't have to just be a dreadful experience going to work if we have somebody who is in our corner and supportive. And the Hawthorne studies implied more leadership research. So if you hear the term management and the term leadership, we start to hear more leadership. At least in the past, I would say 2 decades or so, that leadership has been very prevalent in the organizational world. That we're not just thinking of managers, we're thinking of leaders who actually care about their employees or about their peers who are in their groups. Leadership research can be conducted both quantitatively and qualitatively, through interviews again or focus groups. Now, of course, we do have quantitative, including um, content analysis and surveys, but we're seeing that there is a value in human relations, and we can be involved in the decision making and problem solving as workers, as groups. But it does depend on the organizational culture as well. This video clip is about the Hawthorne effect, and your question, I believe this is field trip video clip number 4. Why is an energetic investment more important than a financial one at work? So you'll hear this term towards the end of that video. Uh, if you see me reaching over my screen, it's so I can pause the video from playing on my end and keep navigating through our slides. And now we have the HR, the Human Relations School. We're considering the unfounded connection between satisfaction and productivity, because in the previous theories, productivity was valued, the person behind the wheel or carrying out the task was not valued as much on the job. Didn't matter what skills or talents or gifts that person had to offer. If they were able to do it, by all means, and didn't matter what skill sets that they could offer or education level, as long as there was somebody or whatever equipment was involved. So from productivity to also more satisfaction of the employee. And there have been more conservative worker manager relations, meaning less of the autocratic, dictative leadership to more of a cordial, collaborative relationship. Now we'll also consider McGregor's theory X and theory Y, with theory Y being the traditional management approach, and theory X, and theory Y involving the full potential of employers. So going from the autocratic, hence theory X, or just more of a top down or higher power distance, whereas theory Y would also be considering not just the ideas of the management, but also the other workers involved. In this last video clip, number 5, we have leadership versus management. And your question is, why are empathy and perspective important for leaders to have? So this speaker addresses these at the beginning of the video, specifically being empathetic and having that perspective, and why would it really matter for leaders to possess those qualities? All right. Trying to pause this video and wrap up our slides. And next we have human resource management based on Likert four systems approach. So we have exploitative, authoritative, motivated by threats and fear, and benevolent and authoritative, motivated by threats and rewards. And in both of these types, the turnover of employees are high. And then we also have consultative, which has participation on decision making and moderate turnover, and participative involving high participation and communication all levels, as well as the decision making process, but low turnover. So this may imply that there is a high satisfaction of employees who work in a participative management system. So the bottom two groups listed in this grid, or these quadrants, are motivated by both positive and negative reinforcements. And factors that come into play are that managers may be identified as a main obstacle. So it just depends on which form of human resource management is used, and there may be a semi-autonomous group function for different HR management groups. Like, for example, when I was a college administrator before the pandemic, I was running a satellite campus from our main university, which was located further north in central Texas, and I'm here in deep South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley. So down here in Brownsville, I managed this satellite campus, and it was considered as autonomous because I was the campus director and everything went through me at that particular campus. But then I also had my administrators at the main campus who I collaborated with. So even though the majority of my job duties were autonomous and independent, and I was considered as my own boss while there, I still had to report to my directors up north, if that can serve as semi-autonomous. And it really depends on which HR management system is being used. So we do have to consider across all of these theories the productivity and the satisfaction. So here is a chart that sums up the different theories that we covered today: Taylor's scientific management, Weber's bureaucratic theory, and the human relations theory, and the human resource management for HR, not to get them mixed up. But we consider the productivity and the satisfaction, the job at hand, as well as the human factor. And we also consider control. We think about that in terms of the authoritative figures, the management and the leadership at work, but also the employees themselves and the relationships that can be developed, including the organization and society relationship, because we do want to have companies nowadays that develop a relationship with the communities who they serve. It's not just, output, spitting out the product or the services and then just earning income from it. They want to develop more of a relationship. We also think about corporate social responsibility and what these companies are doing beyond just that transactional, putting out the product and then earning the income and the revenue from it. The last question that you'll answer today in option 2 is, which organizational management theory is your favorite? So again, we're considering the human factor, as well as productivity and motivation. And again, those 7 questions are what I'll be seeking in option 2, starting with your icebreaker question, followed by 5 field trip video clip questions. And Poggy just went to the previous slide, and then this breakout session question. And these are the pages where I consulted chapter 3 on organizational management, and my PURR-due boiler cats and PURR-due boiler pup. Wish y'all a wonderful rest of your week, and I'm looking forward to your unit 3 assignments. Have a good one and take care. Thank y'all.